Disney Pixar's new film Luca dropped on Disney Plus today. The question is, should you see it? Hello everyone and welcome to the Dill Pickle Movie Network. I am Dylan Randazzo, and today we are talking about Disney Pixar's newest film, Luca. The film is directed by Enrico Casarosa, and it is a coming-of-age fantasy film about a sea monster named Luca who befriends Alberto, another sea monster. Together they explore what it's like to live on the surface, where their sea monster appearances are stripped away, and they suddenly appear as humans. Appearing as humans, they decide to explore the town, where they meet a young local Italian girl named Giulia, and her father Massimo. The three children set a goal to compete in this athletic race where you have to swim, then eat a bunch of pasta, and then bike. It's a very traditional Italian race that they strive to compete in to win money, to further and better their futures and reach all their goals that they've been talking about throughout the film. Meanwhile, while all this stuff is happening, Luca's parents come from the sea to the land in search for him in order to bring him back to the ocean where they believe he belongs. Obviously, with this plot synopsis, there are similarities to be made to two other Disney films. One is a Pixar film, Finding Nemo, as well as the Disney animated film, The Little Mermaid. Both deal with similar themes of, sea creatures wanting to go above shore, see what else is beyond, and then people trying to hold them back, particularly their parents. Those themes are very, very familiar. So, again, the plot of Luca is a fairly familiar plot. It's very basic on paper. Where they try to elevate this plot is in this discussion of what it means to be different and what it means to be in a place where you are not necessarily accepted and having to blend in and pretend you're someone you're not, and what happens when your true colors are revealed. I think because this is a very basic plot, it's very quaint, it's very simple. I think because it's simple, I was able to focus a lot more on the animation. And I think Pixar, they're always praised for how emotional their stories are and how they make you feel, but I think oftentimes some people glaze over the fact that Pixar's animation is just stunning. And I think in this film specifically, the animation is just gorgeous. The movie's set in Italy, so there's, of course, very beautiful landscapes. There's beautiful little villages and beautiful little stores and shops and all these little details that make up this beautiful atmosphere. I mean, the ocean itself is just stunning and gorgeous.
Quanta fretta, ma dove corri? Dove vai?
The visuals of the sea creatures themselves are very, very well designed. There's just so much color that pops off the screen. A very vibrant, a very vivid use of color, both under the sea and on shore, which I really, really appreciated. There are some fantasy dream sequences that Luca has throughout the film where he imagines this ideal lifestyle, and it's filled with some of the most intriguing and eye-catching visuals that I've ever seen. Pixar is really upping the game when it comes to the actual animation itself. They're always finding new ways to innovate technologically when they don't even need to. They have a lot on paper that they don't even need to go that extra mile with the animation, but because they do go that extra mile, that is what sets Pixar apart from so many other studios and why I think they've garnered such a positive reputation. Enrico Casarosa, the director, said that a lot of the visual work is based on the works of Federico Fellini as well as Hayao Miyazaki, and I think that really is very evident when you watch this movie. The colors are just so beautiful. It feels like you're watching a painting. You could take any frame of this movie, screenshot it, and put it on your wall, and it's going to be something that people who, when they come over to your house, they go, wow, that's a beautiful piece of artwork. It feels like it belongs almost in a painting, in a portrait, because the visuals are so beautiful. So I definitely saw that similarity between those works and this work. I definitely saw the homage that this film was paying to those works and those directors. Like I said, this is set in Italy, so there were also nice moments just with the story, little gags here and there, where they really, really embrace this Italian culture. Being Italian myself, I love to see some of my culture represented on screen. I love to see the little moments where Luca and his friend Alberto are trying, twirling pasta with a fork for the first time. There's a scene where they try espresso for the first time. Some of the phrases that come out of their mouths, I mean, it is all so reminiscent of Italian culture, and it seems very, very surface level, but if you have a deep appreciation for the culture and the style of living and the way of living and the look and the atmosphere of Italy and that kind of culture, I think you will appreciate this movie a lot. I definitely did, from a visual and aesthetic standpoint. Just that use of culture was really, really nice. It reminded me of Coco, seeing that culture, the Mexican culture represented so well in Coco, of course visually and then thematically. I think this film as well does a very good job at doing so. Along those lines of of the Italian culture, I want to also talk about some of the voice performances in this film. I think the strongest performances in this film come from those who have that culture and that heritage inside them and who can bring just an authenticity to these roles. A lot of the lead roles, of course, are played by non-Italian actors, and they are very good in the roles. You have Jacob Tremblay as Luca, you have Jack Dylan Grazer as Alberto, Maya Rudolph and Jim Gaffigan play the parents, you have Sacha Baron Cohen as the uncle character, but I think the strongest performances do come from those who can connect most to the work and to the culture and to the way of speaking that these characters have that is so unique and so rich and meaningful to so many people. Marco Baricelli plays Massimo, the father of Giulia, who is a very integral role to the film. At first, when you first meet him, he doesn't seem like he's going to have that big of an impact on the film, but he does, especially in the film's later moments. I think Baricelli brings a real authenticity, like I said, to this role. Saverio Raimondo also plays a villain, Visconti, who is a fun little villain that I think the audience will really have fun rooting against. You know, it's always fun to have a villain who's very clearly an antagonist, you know, not this anti-hero. Are they evil? Are they not? It's very clear from the beginning this is not a very good dude, and you can right off the bat relate to Luca and the other characters because this guy is so nasty and rude and selfish, and I think Raimondo's performance in that villain role is very good as well. I do think the leading characters are very sweet throughout. Luca's very relatable, Alberto's relatable. You have Giulia, who is a really, really nice character. She reminded me of Ellie from Up when we see her in the beginning of Up. This little kid who has, you know, wide eyes and it just wants to seek out adventure and imagination and, you know, wants to really fight for her goals and strive toward her ambitions. This film is a very quaint film. It is a very light film. It is not necessarily the most exciting film. I think the pacing, while it is a shorter runtime than most Pixar films, it's actually, I think, the second shortest next to Toy Story, the original Toy Story from 1995. I still think, you know, some of the moments do drag a bit. You know, it's not the most exciting film, but I do think those themes of acceptance and, you know, trying to show that you can still fit in even if you don't belong, even if you don't look like the other people around you. I think it's an important theme, especially for a kid's movie, for people to see, for children to see. Of course, like most Pixar movies, this does have a really fantastic ending. This is a movie about literal sea creatures walking amongst humans, but the ending, you know, really will get you in your feels. I think this is something we see a lot with some of the mid-tier, lower-tier Pixar films. Even if they're not the best films throughout the whole runtime, I think at the end, they do remind you, when all things are said and done, why Pixar is such a meaningful, impactful storytelling studio. I think it's because at the end they find those moments to just sucker punch you with the emotion that you didn't even know you would have. You know, watching this, I didn't expect to get all emotional at the end, but they really found a way to make me feel these raw emotional things, and you know, I have to hand it to them. You know, I didn't love this movie throughout its runtime. I thought it was good, but I think the ending really sold me on it and made me want to revisit it again, knowing how everything comes together. It all comes together in a really satisfying whole. I say it's on the mid-tier to lower-tier Pixar film radar because Pixar's just made so many amazing films. You know, when you make so many masterpieces, one after the other, after another, you know, there are going to be movies that don't quite reach that level, but I don't think that means they're bad movies. You know, I think because the bar is set so high, Luca does seem a tad underwhelming, but I think when you can look at it just as its own film, I think it's a much better work than when you do compare it to the classics like Finding Nemo, like a Monsters Inc., like the Toy Story films, like The Incredibles. You know, it's never going to reach that height, but I do think it offers some really, really nice elements of storytelling as well as just the stunning animation. I think if you just want to put this on mute and just watch it for the visuals, I think it's going to be a satisfying experience. I think the visuals are that good, but I do think it is a cute story, and I do think I would recommend it at the end of the day. I think kids will definitely enjoy some of the hijinks that goes on, some of the fun little gags throughout. I think adults will appreciate some of those themes, especially with the parents in relation to Luca and again with Giulia's father. I think people of Italian descent will appreciate the use of culture. I would have liked to see more Italian actors filling some of the lead voice roles, but I do think if you're fans of Jacob Tremblay and Jack Dylan Grazer, you will like this voice cast. I think it has a lot of things working for it, and I do think I would recommend it at the end of the day. It is free on Disney Plus if you have a Disney Plus subscription, so while you're watching all your Lokis and your Bad Batch Star Wars shows, take a look at this movie, because it's a short movie. You can fit it in a nice hour and a half. It is a very, very fun and very cute watch. So that was my review of Luca. Have you seen it? Let me know in the comments below how you liked it. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment. Anything you can do to help the channel is greatly appreciated. As you may have seen on my channel and on my Letterboxd, I am doing a 2011 retrospective this month where I'm looking at films from 10 years ago, seeing how they look 10 years later in 2021. I did a review for Bridesmaids. You can check it out in the top right corner. Tomorrow you will be getting a review for Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, another film that came out in 2011 that actually does have sea creatures and mermaids, so it's perfectly fitting for this. You can also check out my podcasts, Marvelous Movie Mondays with Kelsey and Dill, every Monday where we talk about Marvel. We're in the midst of Loki. We're having great discussions of Loki. You will have a new episode of that on Monday. And the Great American Film Off, which happens twice a month here on the channel and on podcast form. We just did a show on the best movie musical, the most iconic movie musical, and it was one of my favorite discussions yet. We also have episodes of Frame Wreck and Picture This coming up this month. It's gonna be a really, really fun rest of the month, wrapping up all these things in June and then proceeding into the rest of the summer movie season. Hope you enjoyed the review. Thank you so much for watching. Check out Luca. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.